Hello, Joe. So you're Juliana Turnbull, also known as SEO Joe Blogs on X, formerly Twitter, and you have founded SearchBCN. What is SearchBCN?
Well, thank you for having me on your show today.
Oh, yes, of course.
This is great. Search BCN or Search Barcelona is a networking group that I set up in June 2023. And it is a platform for new speakers, a platform for people to gather in a safe space and learn about different aspects of search. So that includes SEO, PPC, and also social media.
Yes, because social media is also search, in a way.
In a way, yes, it is. But Search Barcelona is, I would say, my second edition because I took over actually a meetup group and then I renamed it Search London nearly over 13 years ago. And that was a networking group that I wanted because I wanted to be able to have a place where I could ask people questions all about different aspects of search, including social media.
So that was very convenient because actually you wanted to ask questions to people, to your peers, and then you created this space to ask people. And now, what is SearchBCN, Search London? Is it like do you have like meetups or something like that?
Yes, so actually Search London was originally a meetup called a different name, actually set up by Judith Lewis.
Yes.
And she ran 2 events. And then I cannot remember if she stepped down or I had asked her about the event. It was over 13 years ago, but we had worked together. And Search London was a networking event. It was in obviously central London where people can connect and meet up in person. Obviously during the pandemic we moved online.
Yes.
And we used to actually have events every 6 to 8 weeks. After the pandemic we continued to do online events and we do in-person events as well.
Okay, so you have two sides. You can have in person and online, which is quite convenient because you can meet people from all around the world with the online. You don't have to be in London, actually.
Yes, I really wanted to have a place where people could come to Search London, but they didn't actually have to physically come. So it actually go and reaches people across many different borders. And myself, I moved a lot when I was younger. We always had a lot of people coming from different nationalities at my school, and I was always very used to having an international environment. So having Search London online really is again an international environment, and it's a place where other people can connect with others without actually having to leave the comfort of their own home.
So is SearchBCN like a twin of Search London?
I would say it's maybe a sister.
Maybe a sister.
Yeah. I have a twin. She's in Barcelona.
Oh, true.
So I would say a sister because Search Barcelona, it's slightly different because with Search London, we have events from 6 p.m. until 11, where Search Barcelona is more of an event right after work, 6 until 8 or 9 o'clock. And then in Barcelona, people tend to then go out for dinner afterwards. In London, you come to Search London and people stay the whole evening.
Okay, interesting. So I was told that you were running a business which is called Turn Global. And so this is a digital remote marketing consultancy business?
Yes, this is correct.
Remotely?
It is, yes. So I set up Turn Global in October 2022.
Yes.
But prior to that, I was working remotely. I worked in Australia and I had my business there, and I worked in London and I had a business there. And I've always wanted to work remotely because we, as a family, moved around a lot when I was younger, every 2 to 3 years, different countries. And I always wanted to live in a place, not because of where the job was, but because I wanted to live in that country or city.
Okay.
But I didn't know, obviously, what remote working was back then.
It was more about choosing where you wanted to live more than what job you could get in that kind of place.
Exactly. It was choosing where I wanted to live and having a good job rather than I had to move because of the job, which was why we had moved before.
Yes, that's interesting because I had an experience, quite similar experience when I had an offer for a job in Budapest, I remember, and they told me that, okay, you can have the job, but you have to move next month. And I wasn't prepared at all for that. So I remember that my first research was, okay, what is the food in this country? What do they eat? Am I ready to eat this kind of food every day? And so I didn't go to Budapest for some other reasons, but yes, I think maybe being able to work remotely today is a very good opportunity to have a lot more different type of job offers. And in your case, working remotely, do you think that this is something you have to explain to maybe to clients to reassure them that you can do it remotely?
That's a good question. So I had always wanted to work remotely, and actually we had moved to London for high school, and I didn't want to have to commute into London, so I lived in the suburbs of London. But when I was trying to find a job, there weren't that many, so I had to go into London. Then when I found a job, I wanted to know if I could work from home. People didn't want to do that. It seemed like there was a bit of a mistrust, whereas when you're studying and you're paying to go to universities, particularly in the UK and countries like Australia and the US, you can be studying from home and nobody's asking you. But as soon as someone's paying you to work from home, it's suddenly questionable. So I do think that us working online has helped us to be able to do remote working, but I do think it's been a little bit more because, unfortunately, of the pandemic, it pushed people to work online more and be accepted to work online instead of having to negotiate that as part of your job. Correct.
Work from home, and maybe it makes things faster to understand that it is okay and not you can work in your pajamas, but it's still working. But
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more trust now because of what happened in the pandemic.
yeah, but we hadn't. I see like this movement to get back to the offices. Would you be ready to go back to an office like every day?
I think it's okay to go back to an office every day if it doesn't take a lot of your time. I think depending on where you live in the world, sometimes it is expensive to live near the office. And so you live far away and it can be an hour and a half each way. So that's 15 hours a week in just commuting.
Between working from home and working from the office. And on the other side, you have this trend of the digital nomads who basically work this kind of successful people who work from anywhere, and there is no, you have to go to the office. And there are two types of, let's say, the goal, like, oh, what is a real job, what is working, what is a real job, what is having a real job, is it being in an office or not. And in French we say un emploi de bureau, and which is un emploi de bureau, which is basically the fact that you are working in an office.
Yeah.
And being in an office is your job. So now you can have an office in another place than with other people in building built only for this purpose. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think it also depends on what type of setup you have. So maybe if you're self-employed, it might be a bit easier.
Yeah.
If you work for some companies that allow remote work, yes, that's good. But I think with the digital nomad situation, it will depend, of course, also on your passport. So some passports are visa-free for 90 days. Others you'll have to specifically apply for the digital nomad visa. But yes, there's two different ways of working. Do you need to go to the office every day, or can you be a bit more productive if you live far away from the office and use that time to focus on building up the skills on yourself, or even just keeping yourself healthy, like going to do workouts, or to sort of practice meditation, or to do your yoga and Pilates instead of commuting on the train 3 hours a day.
But that's an important point that you mentioned, is the fact that can we afford to work from home or not? Can we have a good setup or not? And there are a lot of employees who are blaming their employers not to have like a budget to spend for a proper table, a proper screen to be comfortable with, and that can be an issue because you can be at home but not well-being.
Yes, I think if we look at the remote working, there are some people, for example, maybe junior workers, those who have just started out in their career, it was maybe a bit more difficult for some of them to work from home because they learn a lot from others in the office, and also they're maybe not able to afford to have this spare room that has a desk to themselves. They might be in a co-sharing situation where they just have a tiny room and they don't actually have a desk to properly set up and work. So I think we need to also think about that. If a company is doing a working from home policy, that's great, but it would be good for them to help provide the proper tools to set that person up working from home.
Yeah, because networking and relationship is a part of training to be able to get skills by having a conversation with someone, and that's very important as well.
Yes, correct.
So how can we find you on the internet?
On the internet?
Yeah.
Well, you can find me on the X, formerly known as Twitter, on SEO J-O blogs. And you can find me on LinkedIn with just J Turnbull. And I'm on those two platforms the most, really.
Yeah. Can you respond answer quite quickly?
Of course, yes. People message me, I will respond in a jiffy, which means quick.
Which means quick. Okay.
Jiffy is quick.
Thank you. Thank you for this lesson of this new word. And thank you for being here, and have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Evening. Thank you.
Thank you for having me today.
Bye. Thanks.